Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are going to do my Week 3 running back rankings for fantasy football in 2020. We are going to be talking about my running backs 1 all the way through 32 and why I kind of have them ranked where I do inside of the top 32 running backs for week number 3 of the fantasy football season in 2020. So before I get into the Week 3 running back rankings, I'd like to let you guys know that if you do end up enjoying this video at any point, to please hit that subscribe button down below. It's free. I put out content every single day. The best content on the internet to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. And before I get into the Week 3 rankings, please listen to a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at OverlayDFS.com. Overlay DFS has introduced a new fantasy football game for the 2020 fantasy football season. It is called the Matchup Shop. It is the player versus player game that includes real-life aspects of betting with the spread. So pretty much it's fantasy points of a player versus fantasy points of another player, just with the addition of the spread. So in this scenario right here, we have Matt Ryan versus Mitch Trubisky. If you bet Mitch Trubisky, you get an additional 8.5 fantasy points, whereas if you bet Matt Ryan, you lose negative 8.5 fantasy points for that game. Who wins head-to-head with the spread is going to be the winner. It is very simple. Anyone can figure it out. Even I can win on there. So thank you guys all for listening to this spiel real quick. Make sure you guys check it out because you guys do all that research and you want to win some money with it. Make sure you check out OverlayDFS.com. Link down below in the description. And we are back. Please make sure to check out OverlayDFS.com. Link down below in the description. But let's get right into it. Week 3 running back rankings. We begin here at running backs 1 through 12. The next slide will be 13 through 24, and then 25 through 32 after that. At number 1, we begin with Ezekiel Elliott at the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Christian McCaffrey has been dethroned as the number 1 guy. Why? Because the guy's hurt. Saquon Barkley probably could have been the number 1 guy this week. Again, hurt, and Saquon's out for the whole season. So Ezekiel Elliott gets the number 1 spot here up against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Now, this is a great matchup for a lot of points to be scored on the board for both the Dallas Cowboys as well as the Seattle Seahawks. Now, it seems like Ezekiel Elliott is very involved in this Dallas offense. Well, he always has been for the last however many years he's been in the NFL. The guy is a star-studded workhorse in the NFL, and this matchup up against the Seattle Seahawks, where a lot of points are going to be scored, is obviously going to benefit Mr. Ezekiel Elliott. He has that feed me tattoo, and I believe he gets fed on Sunday in the game up against the Seattle Seahawks. That I think is going to be a very high-scoring affair. At number 2, we have Alvin Kamara going up against the Green Bay Packers. Now, without Michael Thomas, Drew Brees seems lost. He seems clueless. All right, and I think that the way they win this game, if the Saints are to win and beat the Green Bay Packers, they're going to have to do one thing, and that is get Alvin Kamara involved in the game. Alvin Kamara had a feast on Monday night up against the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, they didn't end up winning that game, but he was a focal point of that offense. You could see when they were doing well, when they were scoring, it's because Alvin Kamara was on the field, and I believe this week up against the Green Bay Packers, it is going to be no different. I believe that Alvin Kamara is going to put up a big game on Sunday up against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. Next game here, we got Derrick Henry going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I understand last week Derrick Henry kind of took a shit straight on your chest, kind of smeared that thing in, and the waffle stomped it like he was in the shower. So, Derrick Henry didn't play that well, obviously, but now he gets the Minnesota Vikings. Now, there's obviously the narrative that this could be a very heavy Ryan Tannehill pass game, which I can see happening as well, but Derrick Henry is obviously going to be involved. I expect him to score a touchdown at least in this game and get over 100 yards. Derrick Henry is a beast, and going up against a not-so-hot Minnesota Vikings defense should bode well for Mr. Derrick Henry. At number 4, we have John God Taylor going up against the New York Football Jets in Indianapolis. Now, I kind of expect this game to be very low scoring. I expect it to kind of be a boring one where Jonathan Taylor is just running a train on the New York Football Jets. He's got the reins, and he's doing this, bow, 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 like he's fucking slapping the shit out of the horses so they go super fast and beat the New York Football Jets. This should be an easy game for Jonathan Taylor. A great offensive line up against a not-so-hot defensive line of the New York Football Jets is going to bode well, obviously, for the running back, and I think that Jonathan Taylor just has a fantastic game this Sunday. The guy's clearly getting fed in this offense. He's clearly the workhorse that we saw out of Wisconsin in his college career, so I think that Jonathan Taylor is the real deal for fantasy football and is going to be a huge winner this week for you guys in week number 3. At number 5, we have Josh Jacobs going up against the New England Patriots. Now, Josh Jacobs tore the Saints a new asshole. He ripped it open. He went in there with his binoculars and climbed straight through and out the brain of Cam Newton, or not of Cam Newton, of Drew Brees. But now, this week, they're playing up against the Patriots. Obviously going to be a tougher matchup. Now, understand that Josh Jacobs is banged up coming into this game, but I do expect him to play. Reports are that he's going to play, and reports are that Darren Waller may not end up playing. Darren Waller's banged up. So, if Darren Waller's banged up, then they're going to have to be dumping the ball off to another man. And that man's name is Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs is going to be very good in this game. He's a locked and loaded top 10 running back on a weekly basis. And in a matchup where the Raiders looked very good last week. Now, I don't expect them to beat the Patriots. I actually expect the Patriots to beat them by about a touchdown. But I wouldn't be surprised if they kept it kind of close and Josh Jacobs was able to put up a good game against the Patriots. At 6, we have Dalvin Cook going up against the Tennessee Titans. Now, I know I kind of talked about how the Minnesota Vikings offense sucks. Absolute wee-wee. They are atrocious. They cannot do anything. But the one person who can do something is Dalvin Cook. They just feed the goddamn beast just like I feed the geese every single day. Dalvin Cook is going to tear it up in Tennessee, or up against the Tennessee Titans, even up against a tougher defense. The guy's just he's just built different because he gets a zillion touches, and obviously eventually, knock on wood, the guy always ends up getting hurt, but when he's healthy, he's a must start in my opinion, and going up against the Tennessee Titans, even a tougher kind of defense, still, I have to start him in my lineup. At number 7, we have Austin Eckler going up against the Carolina Panthers. Now, the saving grace of this doctor, the team doctor, accidentally stabbing Tyrod Taylor in the goddamn lung, may have saved Austin Eckler's fantasy season. It may have, because if Teddy Bridgewater was still the starting quarterback of the LA Chargers, I would be very nervous for this game, strictly because it just seems like Tyrod Taylor just does not like to throw the ball to the running back. It just doesn't seem like the game plan is the same when Herbert is in versus when Tyrod is in, and up against a not-so-good Carolina Panthers defense, I wouldn't be surprised if Austin Eckler and Joshua Kelly double-tap that Carolina Panthers ass on Sunday. Next game here, we got Aaron Jones going up against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. As running back number 8, Aaron Jones has proved yet again that this guy is the real deal for fantasy football. 2 years in a row, this guy has been blowing the backs out of defenses, and I think it's going to be no different this week up against the New Orleans Saints. Aaron Jones has proved that he is one of the best backs in the NFL, and I believe there's going to be continued success in a game that could be maybe get out of hand for the Packers. They may be able to just lay a ass whooping down, can of whoop ass down on the New Orleans Saints, which in that case, Aaron Jones will be even more involved. At number 9, we have CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this matchup obviously not super juicy like your name was the Notorious Big, but at the end of the day, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still going to have a good game. The Baltimore Ravens defense is going to kind of make them pass, right? It's hard to run against them, hard to pass against them. They're going to be a close game, so they're going to have to pass. CH very involved in the pass-catching game of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think in a close game like this, Clyde Edwards-Helaire should be able to have a pretty decent game. At number 10, we have Kenyon Drake going up against the Detroit Lions in Arizona. Now, Kenyon Drake has been a disappointment for the first 2 weeks of the season. Now, I'm not saying that in real life he's disappointing the Carolina or the Cardinals. In real life, he's doing very good. But for fantasy football-wise, the guy's very disappointing. He just hasn't really found the end zone. He just hasn't been doing those things that we saw deep down the season last year after he got moved from the Miami Dolphins to the Arizona Cardinals. But I believe this week, up against a very atrocious Detroit Lions defense, Kenyon Drake is going to have that coming out party, just like we saw him do last year, where he just slaps up the defense, give him the good old 1-2 Mayweather. I think Kenyon Drake has quite the day. They set a fucking parade down Arizona for Kenyon Drake and Kyler Murray because these guys are going to double tap that Detroit Lions defense. At number 11, we have Miles Sanders going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Last week, I was very hesitant to start Miles Sanders up against the LA Rams. The LA Rams did have a very good front seven. They still do. And that is definitely a concerning factor when playing a running back who doesn't have the greatest offensive line up against a very good defensive line. Just so happens to turn out that last Sunday was national. Miles Sanders makes Nick look like a dumbass day because Miles Sanders played excellent up against Aaron Donald and friends in LA. Obviously, they end up losing that game. Now, they get the Cincinnati Bengals, a game that is must win for the Philadelphia Eagles. You can't fall down 0-3 and potentially contend with the Cowboys to win the NFC East. So I think Miles Sanders is going to put up a big game here on Sunday up against the Bengals. All these guys inside of the top 12 definitely have big potential this week. At number 12, we have Joe Mixon going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I understand Joe Mixon has been very disappointing this season, but I think here we've seen him increase his point total week 1 and week 2, from week 1 to week 2. Now I think week 3 we see him step up even further up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm not saying he's going to put up 30 fucking points in this matchup, but what I'm saying is if Zach Taylor has any brains inside of that fucking thick skull of his, he would give the ball to Joe Mixon more. If you watch the tape, you watch the first half of the game versus the second half, you'd see one glaring defect of the offense. It was the fact that they said, Joe Mixon, go fuck yourself, let's use Giovanni Bernard instead. When Joe Mixon was on the field, he's getting dump-offs, he's running the ball, he's getting yardage, he's chunking down on the Browns, who have a very good defensive line. He's doing good against them. Then they take him out, and it all kind of falls to shit. It doesn't make too much sense. So, Zach Taylor, go ahead, look at the screen, turn on NFL Game Pass, watch the All 32. I'm sure they give it to you for free because you're a head coach in the fucking NFL. Watch it on your TV. Look how good Joe Mixon looks. Give him more touches. It's that simple. Now, if they fail to give Joe Mixon enough touches again, he fails this week, I am going to be probably much more worried than I am right now. I just will be. I mean, he just really didn't do much recently that makes me pissed off at him because he did look good when he was getting the ball. The offensive line is kind of rough there in Cincinnati. I just hope this is the game where Joe Mixon gets it done, though. Understand he's definitely risky, though, considering he hasn't been all that good the last couple of weeks. Now on to running back 13 through 24. If you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Now, we are at number 13 through 24. We began with number 13, Nicholas Chubb, going up against the Washington football team. Nick Chubb ran absolutely wild up against the Cincinnati Bengals last week. Now expect kind of a decrease in points this week due to going up against the Washington football team's front seven. Chase Young is a scary motherfucker, and I would be very scared to run towards that man. But Nick Chubb, he is fearless. He is big dick Nicholas Chubb, so he is going to have a full Chubb on Sunday up against the Washington football team. Viagra in the system. He is going to ball the fuck out. I think he has a pretty solid game here up against the Washington football team. At number 14, interrupting the sandwich. He's kind of in the middle of the Oreo of the Cleveland Browns. David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, last week, David Montgomery played amazing. Lights out up against the New York Football Giants. Lights out so much that the man got hurt. Looked like he passed away on the field. Looked like he got 70 concussions. He looked like Brandon Cooks in the Super Bowl when he got laid out. Sorry to Brandon Cooks if you had to hear that. I love you. But that's what happened. And then, out of nowhere, it was the Undertaker gif of him just flying out of the coffin. And then out of nowhere, in the second half, he's back. The chiropractor must have just cracked his whole body, his whole spine, and he was ready to go, and he was fired up, and he kept balling out. Now he gets another soft defense here in the Atlanta Falcons in a game where the Bears could definitely run the ball a decent amount inside of this game. I think that David Montgomery has been much more involved. We saw him kind of more involved in the pass-catching game last week, so that's very good to note. And up against the Atlanta Falcons, we could definitely see David Montgomery put up a multiple touchdown game. So I like Monty here, running back number 14. At running back 15, we have Kareem Hunt going up against the Washington football team. Again, kind of sandwiching in David Montgomery there with the two Cleveland Browns players. Kareem Hunt, very, very good. If they are going to be in a close game, Kareem Hunt will be involved. That's how you have to think about it. If the game's a blowout, it'll just be Chubb. If it's close, Kareem Hunt will be involved. We saw Kareem Hunt ball out later in the game, even after they were kind of blowing out the Cincinnati Bengals. So that was very good to see. I think we see a heavy dosage of Kareem Hunt this week up against the Washington football team. Up at number 16, we have Chris Carson going up against the Dallas Cowboys at home in Seattle. Now, obviously, like I said earlier, this is going to be a high-scoring game. They seem to have kind of moved away from the run in Seattle, but that doesn't mean that Chris Carson is shit, though, because Chris Carson is involved in the pass-catching game as well. I think he's going to put up a very productive week. Would not be surprised if he was a top 12 running back. Really wouldn't be surprised if Chubb, Montgomery, Hunt, or Chris Carson ended up finishing as a top 12 running back. Now, obviously, you guys are noticing, hey, Nick, where's James Robinson? He already played. Where's Myles Gaskin? Where's Jordan Howard? They all have played. Just understand that the guys that have already played in the games on Thursday are not in the rankings. At number 17, we have TG, Todd Gurley, young, fucked up knee, going up against the Chicago Bears. Now, Todd Gurley is 100%, his production is 100% based upon the touchdown. If he does not score a touchdown this week up against the Chicago Bears, he is fooked. He's not going to do very good. He's going to get a lot of touches, but he hasn't done much with them in the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons like to throw the ball, so even when he gets a lot of touches, they're still throwing the ball like 7 times more than they're running the ball. So I don't really trust Todd Gurley. Definitely more of a kind of safer play because he's going to score like 7+ points every single week, but he definitely could disappoint and not eclipse like 15 points unless he ends up scoring a touchdown. At 18, we have Jerick McKinnon going up against the New York Football Giants. Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman seeming like they're not going to play on Sunday. And up against the New York Football Giants defense, I think Jerick McKinnon could play humongous big in this game up against the Giants. Now, last week, like I talked about earlier, David Montgomery balled out up against the New York Football Giants defense. Jerick McKinnon last week got against the Jets. He literally had 2 touches and had like 70 yards. All right, any running back in this system for the 49ers is going to be good if they are the starter. Just so happens that Jerick McKinnon is going to be the starter this week, and I like him up against the New York Football Giants. At 19, we have Mike Davis going up against the LA Superchargers in that new SoFi Stadium. Now, understand here, Mike Davis is the replacement for CMC, so we may see this week more of a kind of two-headed backfield, right? Last week we saw McCaffrey go down. Mike Davis is the only one behind him, so Mike Davis is getting a lot of the touches. This week, don't fucking buy completely in on Mike Davis, but even in a tougher matchup, I think Davis is just going to get a lot of targets. We saw him get 8 targets last week, 8 receptions after Christian McCaffrey went down. Davis is very involved. Teddy Bridgewater likes to dump the ball off to the man standing in front of him, so Mike Davis is going to have quite the good game here up against the LA Chargers. At number 20, we have James Conner going up against the Houston Texans in Pittsburgh. Now, this is a okay matchup for James Conner. James Conner pretty much just going to be a guy inside the top 20 when he's healthy. When he's healthy, you play him because he's going to be a workhorse on the team. Mike Tomlin literally only uses one running back. If a guy is healthy, they use the main guy. If the guy is not healthy, they still use that guy, but if the guy is out, then they go to a different guy. So James Conner will be the workhorse back here until the man passes away. So James Conner here is going to be top 20 running back here up against the Houston Texans. At 21, we have David Johnson going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. God-awful matchup for David Johnson. That Pittsburgh defense looks very, very strong, especially stopping the run week 1 up against the New York Football Giants. Saquon Barkley had like 7 total fucking yards running the ball. Now, the best part about David Johnson, he's also good at pass catching, and Saquon did very good in that game pass catching. So I think David Johnson will be fine. I just don't expect a humongous big week out of David Johnson. At 22, we have Melvin Gordon going up against Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, it seems like Jeff Driscoll is going to be the quarterback for the Broncos in this game. Obviously, not what we would look for. The Bucs defense is kind of underrated, and I think they're going to be pretty good up against the run here against Melvin Gordon. Now, he is the primary back on the team because Phillip Lindsay is out. So that means that he is going to see a lot of touches, and strictly getting that much volume will put you inside of the top 24, but I just don't believe it's going to be a huge game here for Mr. Melvin Gordon. At 23, we have Joshua Kelly going up against the Carolina Panthers. Joshua Kelly has proved week in and week out that he is paramount to this Chargers offense. Regardless of how much I love Austin Eckler, both these guys are going to be very involved in this game up against a not-so-hot Panthers defense. That's why I got Kelly here at 23, going to see a bunch of touches in this game. At 24, we have Antonio Gibson going up against the Cleveland Browns. Now, finally, I think we can believe in Antonio Gibson. Week 1, it was a mishmash of guys. Gibson does nothing. Peyton Barber scores 2 touchdowns. Last week, it was all Antonio Gibson. Now, I would not be surprised if J.D. McKissick scored like 2 touchdowns in this game because Riverboat Ron, kind of confusing. But for now, based on what we saw week 2, based on what I know, I feel like Antonio Gibson is going to be very involved against the Cleveland Browns, both rushing as well as in the pass-catching game. Now, to close out the video, running backs 25 all the way through 32. So again, if you guys have enjoyed this video thus far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. At 25, we have Leonard Fournette going up against the Denver Broncos. Now, clearly, he's the lead back on this team, it seems like. But Bruce Arians may be the most confusing coach when it comes to running backs. He says Rojo's the starter. Rojo's our guy. Rojo's our guy. Rojo this, Rojo that. Then Leonard Fournette plays good. Right? So I don't know. I have no idea. I think Leonard Fournette is the starter up against the Denver Broncos. I think he would be the guy I would most want to start. That's why I have Rojo at 32. But just don't be surprised if Rojo does good because Bruce Arians is just a notorious liar when it comes to trying to tell you who's going to be better at running back on a given week. At 26, we have Devin Singletary going up against the LA Rams. A very tough defense to go against, but we did see Miles Sanders play strong up against them. Zach Moss out for Sunday's game up against the Rams, which elevates Devin Singletary into top 24 kind of potential here, running back 26 on the week. At 27, we have Mark Ingram. Now, I really have no idea what to do with Mark Ingram going up against the Kansas City Chiefs because on any given week, it could be any of these guys. Now, Mark Ingram played good last week, so I would advise if you still have him on your team and there are people looking to trade for a running back, trade him away. Okay, say get the fuck out of here, skedaddle Mr. Mark Ingram, because you don't want anything to do with Mark Ingram. The guy's either going to have a great week or a shit week, and you will have no idea before the week. Unless J.K. Dobbins gets hurt, unless Gus Edwards gets hurt, it is going to be a mishmash of running backs inside that backfield. So I don't know if I want Mark Ingram to shit straight on my chest every other week. So I probably am staying away from him. I said he's a sit, but he is a top 27 running back because he has the upside to be like a top 12 guy if he gets enough touches. At 28, we have Nyheim Hines going up against the New York Football Jets. Now, this game screams run the ball a million times, but Nyheim Hines isn't the main running back. Jonathan Taylor is. He's the pass-catching running back on the team. So, understand that Nyheim Hines may not be super involved in this game. That's why I got him at running back 28. At 29, we have James White going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, James White, obviously, terrible situation happened last Sunday with his family, or last Monday. Very sorry to James White. I'm not too sure if he's going to play. It has nothing to do with that he's injured. family thing happened. Very sad for James White and his family. I feel very sorry for that. So I don't know if he's going to play on Sunday or not. That's why I got him at 29. If he does play, if it seems like he's going to be good to go, he's going to be top 24-ish running back on the week. At 30, we have Tariq Cohen going up against the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. I mean, Tariq Cohen just seems useless when David Montgomery's healthy, but at least he has that pass-catching volume that you can kind of believe in on a weekly basis, which makes him okay as a top 32 back. At 31, we have J.K. Dobbins. Again, no idea if it's going to be Ingram, Dobbins, Edwards at the end of the week scoring the most points, but he does have a lot of potential considering he's on the Baltimore Ravens going up against a high-scoring Kansas City Chiefs offense that are going to be going back and forth in this game. And at 32, we have Ronald Jones going up against the Denver Broncos. Again, with the Ronald Jones situation, it's very confusing, very murky. It's typically a situation I would avoid for Ronald Jones. That's why I have Fournette ranked higher. But if you're in a pickle, Ronald Jones, there could be a lot worse guys to start than Ronald Jones. So thank you guys all for watching this video. Again, if you ended up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out overlaydfs.com, link down below in the description. I love you all. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you leave a comment as well if you enjoyed, as well as hitting that like button. I love you all, and I'll see you motherfuckers later with another banger of a video. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Goodbye!